I mean, do you want to just tell me what?
Yeah.
Your
Basically,
conclusions?
What happened today? This was the pre-trial portion of it, and this was where the prosecuting side was able to offer me a plea. They didn't want to drop the charge as far as obstructing the government, but what their plea was that I would just go ahead and plead guilty or no contest, and they would look at getting me set up on probation right away. Part of the thing that goes along with probation is it's very invasive to your private life as far as, you know, what you're allowed to do, where you're allowed to go, who you're allowed to socialize with, how you can recreate. So even though I'm maintaining my innocence, you know, they're still not wanting to drop it, but still wanting to do something to me, basically have a hold over me. But me and my attorney had talked it over weeks ago, and we never planned on taking a plea deal. It's not going to happen. So the next step is jury selection, August 4th, and at that point, you know, we'll be on our way to trial. I'm not sure when the exact trial date will be, but the next day I have to deal with the court case is August 4th. So, and that's what I've been wanting this whole time, is to get this in front of a jury. There's still a lot of people that don't know about this ordinance and how far-reaching it is, and not only that, you know, they need to be made aware of what happens when you go outside the norm and trying to protest things and do things within, you know, not relying on financial power, not relying on what you can do for other people, but just seeing what's right and standing up for yourself.
Cool. So yeah, if they, I mean, yeah, what it sounds like to me is there's no way you do want to or should disengage. This is your feeling, unless they drop charges, unless they dismiss it altogether.
Yeah, and I think it's too late for them to just outright dismiss it.
I think they've got a lot invested in this.
Oh yeah, and even when I went up and was in front of the judge, I mean, just as far as how she was dealing with the other people up there in their cases, she was very cool, you know, just hostile to people, which isn't unexpected, but I noticed when I got up there, her whole tone changed, and where other people, they were going more into their plea deals, I've made it well known I have no intention of doing that. So, you know, even just the way she spoke with me was different than these other people that don't stand up for themselves and go straight to taking a plea. If you feel you're innocent, drag it out, have a trial, make them prove you're wrong.
Well, I know I keep bringing up this sort of counter argument or whatever, and this is just my feeling, is I feel like people feel it's risky, and I certainly wouldn't deny if someone told me that, well, you know, what D'Shawn's proposing could be risky to me, you know, what about my job and what about family and blah blah blah. I want to keep challenging you on that, and I want to keep hearing, I guess, because I think that's automatically what people will think when, you know, if you tell them no plea deal. Do you agree, or?
Well, I mean, like I said, the thing to consider is everything that happens as far as with the city and the people in that city when there's something newsworthy, they put a story out based on how it appeals to people. When you have a jury trial, you're not appealing to the legal professionals, you're not appealing to the judge, you are appealing directly to your peers, you're appealing directly to the people. Even then, they do what they can to skew the jury for their side on the prosecuting side, just like my defense will have the chance to do. But ultimately, at the end of the day, those 12 people on that jury are more often than not in line with where most people are at, the non-powerful people, the non-well-connected, like I said, the legal professionals. They're appealing directly to the people, and they have the power to say, yeah, you're innocent, or they can go a step further with jury nullification and say the whole thing is messed up, we don't agree with this, we just want to throw it all out.
I was going to say, can you give a plug for jury nullification?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something I'm going to start talking about a lot more publicly, because a lot of people don't realize, say, there's a lot of people that smoke marijuana. Now, say you get busted with a joint and you plead guilty or no contest, yeah, you're going to have to be forced to have court-ordered rehab. You're going to have court-ordered therapy. Like I said, a lot of intrusions into your personal life for something as basic as smoking a joint, which is now legal in 2 states now. So if you had a jury trial in that case, if you had enough people in that jury that felt marijuana should be legal, that jury can nullify your whole court case and say the law is the problem, not this individual. The law needs to change, not make an example out of the person. So that's something where when I tell people, take it to trial, if it sounds risky, like I said last time, when I talked about desperate actions or risky actions, I'm not saying go sit at the podium, if you haven't thought about it. I'm not saying do a sit-in if you haven't thought about it. Do your homework and your research first, but that's what these legal professionals do. They're paid to be aware of a law that you can go look up for free yourself. They just are paid to know it more often. Know what they know. They don't have, the only thing that they have over us is training and court precedent, but as far as the information, it's available to us just as much as it is to them. We need to put that information into use, put those skills into practice, and yeah, we will be able to get people not just keeping them from going to jail. Eventually we start to build the idea and a group of people that say, yeah, it's not just this one thing, it's this system of things that's wrong. And I believe the way to really go about changing that power isn't so much complaining against it. Yes, complain against it, but start to build your own power base and offer your own solutions. And I think that's where we're at with a lot of things right now. That's where I'm trying to go, is do things that show if you practice it, it works. I've thought for a long time that the more, and I've seen it, that the more people that have support through court, they are less likely to be incarcerated, they're less likely to be fined, and that is what needs to start happening, not just about this ordinance. People in general also need to just be aware of their rights, because if you don't stand up for them, yeah, they are going to be gone.
And if nothing else, just to, I guess, humor me, but you mentioned, that in some ways there is a good amount of access, I would agree, to the things that go on in this courthouse. In other ways, do you think maybe there, there are people out there that definitely think there's in some ways less access, and I definitely have heard, theories and arguments about maybe we're too dependent on solutions here. Can you speak to that at all, or?
Dependent on solutions here at the courthouse?
Well, I guess dependent on maybe just law enforcement in general. Is that something maybe you've ever thought about, or that you have any feelings? So, for instance, you feel, for example, you don't like how someone's parked, and you call up the cops, and and the cops came and they took your car. They took.
Dependent on things like calling the police and the legal system in general.
Yeah.
I would say so, and this is something I've tried to maintain through my work is they can pretty much declare anything we do, any kind of even mild resistance to the state, they can come in and smash it easily. Now, if we are under so much scrutiny, if we are expected to maintain our lives within the boundary of the law, part of that is knowing the law and, so what do corporations do? They're fully aware of the law, and what do? They argue their own interpretation of what that law means. Now, that's why people need to read the laws and have their own interpretations. As far as something with this ordinance, the one thing I have a problem with it about is it makes people not be neighborly. If somebody's blocking your driveway, just go out there and say, hey buddy, can you move your car? Thanks. Not turning it into a police matter. Not being so vindictive. And like you said, not being so dependent upon the state to handle our social interactions. If you want the state to live your life for you, stay home, wait for them to tell you when to jump and then say how high. But yeah, I definitely agree that there's too especially when it comes to calling the police. And I think there's also over-reliance on the legal professionals, because that's such a small group that keeps that knowledge locked up amongst themselves. Everything they research is public. We need to do the exact same thing. We need to do the exact same research. And if it's you or if it's somebody you know, go to court with them. Just having a few extra people in the courtroom makes a difference. And that's simply even said when I was in there, that somebody that was getting offered a better deal, the reason they said that was because they showed that they did have family and community support. And this wasn't somebody that was protesting. This was somebody that was just going through the motions and had an attorney. Now, if you have a public defender, you already have those things, but what you need to also look at is getting your own witnesses, getting your own support system, letting that be seen in front of the court. Then they're going to have a much harder time prosecuting you. And not only that, they're going to have a harder time bringing these things up in the future.
Sweet. That's all I got. Anything else?
Again, thanks for coming out. I really appreciate you doing all this.
No problem.
Getting the crowd out here going and getting them to ask questions. That's where the stuff starts.
Yeah, and I would not even be inspired to been out here unless you were in there too. It definitely was kind of a team effort.
Oh, yeah.
If you weren't here, I would not be here.
Oh, yeah,
Don't get me wrong, D'Shawn. And
multi-pronged approach.
so I mean, really, you do. I think you should feel a lot of credit for that, and I don't know. Hopefully it was worthwhile. I can tell you, I definitely got some stress out. I definitely got some frustrations out.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're very welcome, Sean.
Thanks. And like I said, August 4th, we'll be back here, so we'll see everyone then.
Great.